Welcome back to a long overdue episode of Nuclear News. Let's start with the long-term price action, right? We're in it for the long term. Early stage investing always requires a long-term outlook. So over the last 5 years, the Sprott Uranium Miners ETF is up 129%. So just a reminder, this channel started talking about uranium back in 2020. The S&P 500 in that time is only up 54%. So long-term uranium risk assets are outperforming the S&P 500. So let's dive through the long-term fundamentals. Well, let's start with the demand of uranium. World nuclear power capacity in net zero emissions scenario. So this is the International Energy Agency projecting where demand for nuclear power and thus uranium is going to come from. So by 2030, we're supposed to grow to 500 gigawatts plus of energy compared to 2020, which was around 400. That's massive growth. And then from there up into 2040, we see rapid acceleration, exponential growth of nuclear power. And then obviously it just becomes out of control in the future. And a lot of that's driven by emerging and developing economies. China, massive growth. They're projecting a diminishing amount of nuclear power from the G7 members. And so most models have grossly underaccounted for the growing uranium demand because every single week we're surprised by a nuclear power plant extending its life, or by new SMR technology, which hasn't even been baked into the future demand because it's so revolutionary, coming out and being adopted with big money backing it, right? And so what we've seen is these models do not adequately reflect the catalysts for booming nuclear power demand, because they always underestimate it. Now let's dive through the news and how I can make a claim like that. Joint statement by the US and EU following the 10th US-EU Energy Council. The Council intends to intensify cooperation to reduce dependency on Russia for nuclear materials and fuel cycle services, and supports ongoing efforts by affected EU member states to diversify nuclear fuel supplies as appropriate, to just making the supply chain more expensive, investing more in the space. The council noted the role that nuclear power can play in decarbonizing energy systems in countries that have decided or will decide to rely on nuclear energy. The United States and EU decided to co-organize a high-level small modular reactor forum later this year on transatlantic cooperation in the field of SMRs and other advanced nuclear reactors. When you have two of the most powerful governments in the entire world backing each other up, investing in nuclear power, you have to take note, especially when we're seeing accelerating demand around the world. Canada, USA pledged to bolster nuclear supply chains and SMR development. Again, the early stages of SMR technology. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and US President Joe Biden have pledged to coordinate efforts to develop secure, reliable nuclear fuel supply chains in North America and build partnerships to help ensure access to low-enriched uranium. They will launch a one-year task force to accelerate cooperation on critical clean energy opportunities and supply chains. And Canada is to join a US-led program to support small modular reactors. It really doesn't get bigger than countries, governments, powerful governments diving in with both feet into a new revolutionary space, right? These are signposts. Don't be surprised when small modular reactor technology becomes way bigger than anyone anticipated. Canada is leading the way in nuclear green bonds. Two recent bond issues aiming nuclear projects have received approval to carry a green label, and investors like the issuances. So we're seeing more investment capital pouring into the space. We have other big economies around the world. French Parliament votes nuclear plan with large majority. The nuclear plan, whose key plank is the planned construction of 6 new nuclear reactors, was approved with 402 votes in favor of 130 against. And so again, these models for future demand don't include these new developments, right? It's an evolving space. It seems like the demand continues to evolve in one direction, upward. In 2017, South Korea suspended construction of 2 massive reactors as the nation moved to phase out nuclear power. Now a $23 billion contract set to resume construction next year, right? So these are the U-turns. Completely surprising to a lot of people. Not surprising to anyone watching this channel because every single week this happens. In Spain, the Trio nuclear plant to apply for 10-year operating extension. This comes from the Nuclear Energy Institute. Interest from the Nuclear Energy Institute's survey of utility members translates to about 330 new small modular reactors in the next 25 years. That would more than double U.S. nuclear output today. Virginia governor signs bills to support SMR development. UK assessment of Rolls-Royce SMR design progresses. France's EDF sets up subsidiary to focus on Newark SMR development. Now let's talk about the supply. We just covered the booming demand, right? Another new physical uranium investment vehicle is about to be launched. Uranium Actively Managed Certificate, aided by Curzon uranium traders, will invest in physical uranium to be stored at Camco, offering uranium market access for larger pools of capital. We saw the impact of the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust taking supply out of a super tight market. Well, now we have another one coming online, taking supply away. We're seeing the cost to acquire uranium go up as inflation increases around the world. The spot price is going to have to rise, right, to incentivize miners to get it out of the ground at higher costs. Kazakhstan to raise fuel prices by 11 to 20%. That's going to increase the spot price of the uranium in the ground if the fuel price to get it out increases. Camco and Bruce Power celebrate extension of long-term arrangements for nuclear fuel through 2040. Camco just continuing to make massive deals. The new deal extends the exclusive fuel supply arrangements between Cameco and Bruce Power that were announced in 2017 and include provisions for Camco to supply 100% of Bruce Power's uranium conversion services and fuel fabrication requirements. The extension represents an estimated $2.8 billion in additional business between the companies for 2031 and 2040. That is a lot of uranium being bought and sold in the open market. And so the bottom line is that we have a massively booming demand for nuclear power and the fuel that's going to run it. This discussion is for informational purposes only. Please consult a certified financial planner when making any decisions about investing. And do your own research before making any decisions. Investments are risky and you can lose lots of money in them.